Good morning. We are Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Desert. Welcome to this morning's broadcast by our Sensational Six. And that is our recently graduated ministerial students as we come together to share the infinite wisdom that flows through us and hopefully inspires and educates you to be more of the infinite presence that you already are. So we're going to start our time together with an opening prayer. So I invite you to maybe wherever you're sitting or laying or relaxing to take a deep, full, slow breath. Breathing in and breathing out as we settle into this time together. And with but a breath and realizing and remembering and recognizing the infinite presence of the allness of God that is everywhere, that in that space and in that knowing, we are all connected now. In the one mind, in the one heart, in this one life that is the life of God. From this place, we individually and collectively feel ourselves become more inspired, more informed, and more alive to the infinite wisdom that is broadcast this morning. That whether through our questions or through our listening, we feel and see that expandedness of God that we always have been and are now. I know throughout this time together that joy, wisdom, grace, and ease flows perfectly, effortlessly, and divinely. That we come together in this space and place feeling the truth, the light, and the love that is spirit right here and right now. For this and so much more about this time, our time together, I give grateful thanks. We just let it go and let the perfect work of the infinite do its perfect work right here and now. And so it is. Amen. So our program every week, if you're new to joining us, is we're gonna gather around a topic, and so each of us will share individually, and then we'll go right into our main topic, which today is by our awesome and wonderful Reverend Gail, and she'll introduce the topic, tell you what it's about, and then we can begin question and answers. The rest of us will join in and share our 2 bits or 4 bits or 10 bits, and we'll go from there. So to get to know us better and for us to share with you, our question for each of us today is, how are we growing young? And that means whatever you think it means. For me, the thing that keeps standing out is just my spiritual practice, right? Years ago, I got clear that if I had 24 hours to live, I would make sure 60 or 90 minutes, I would just be in meditation in my practice because I can make the other 23 hours feel like an eternity. So from that place, every time I take a breath or spend time in my spiritual practice, the next hour or the rest of the day feels light and lively. Now, some of the more physical things I do is my dog sleeps at the foot of my bed. And when he sees I'm awake, he kind of crawls up a little bit and wants some petting. So he just like flips his tail on the bed, and that brings me a smile to my face. And so we do a little bit of that. And coffee. I have a variety of creamers that I use. None are sweetened. I got the MCT oil. I got this. I got that. I got the gardeners outside in the background. I mean the garbage truck if you can't hear it. But anyway, I have the creamers in my coffee, and there's something about that, just sitting with the book Richer Living and this awesome cup of coffee. Can you feel the energy of that? That's what helps me grow young. So, how about Cheryl? What could you share about growing young for yourself?
Good morning, everyone. I have to, when I was thinking about this question, what came to my mind is a phrase that we, during ministerial school, that has just stuck with me. And it was from Joseph Campbell, and it was follow your bliss. And I think that when you're following your bliss, you remain young. there's certain things in our life, of course, that we have to do, that we have to continue to, yeah, like we have to do the laundry, we have to do certain things, but your bliss is something for me that's just always there. It's no matter what you're doing in your outer life, it's just this blissful feeling that remains within you. And I have to say, I am a very happy person because I don't know how to explain it. Once I got into this teaching and once I started following this journey that I'm on right now, it wasn't blissful at the beginning because there was so much garbage that had to be removed before I could get to that place of knowing that that is my natural state of being, is to be in bliss or to be in joy. And that was a hard concept because we've been taught our entire lives to stay in the, oh no, this could happen, oh no, that could happen, and when things do occur in our lives, we automatically think, why did God do this to me, or something like this. But the reality is that once I realized that whatever is occurring outside of me in the exterior part of who I am was being created by me. And so when I remain in bliss, I just remain in this space of, no matter what is coming forth, it's all good. I know that sounds really, really weird, especially with what's going on with COVID. But what I try and do is to look at what is the good that's coming out of this. And I have seen so many people step up and help their neighbors, and so many people make sure those people that are alone, that they have someone to talk to. And just so many good things have come out of this. Even though it's not really an optimal situation, I was able to find the good and look at the good and stay in that space, and knowing that God's always present. So everything is unfolding in perfect divine right order, no matter how it appears. And that's a hard thing to understand. But for me, that's what my bliss is all about, is remaining in that space. So now I'm going to turn it over to Reverend Lori, and let's hear your thing.
So I'm kind of in alignment with you there, Reverend Cheryl. It's engaging joy as much as possible. That's what keeps me young. And one of the things I love to do is swim. So I swim laps every day, and it's my meditation and it's my bliss, and it's physically good too. So how wonderful is that to combine those two things? And like Reverend Brad's spiritual practice. And it just occurred to me this morning, I did this amazing treatment with my prayer partner yesterday, and the whole thing just flowed from this place of joy, and we were, part of it was that we were on these swings. And just remember when you were a kid and you try to swing so high, and it just brought me back to being little and remembering how my aluminum swing set was not anchored down. And so it would come up and thud and come up and thud because I'd swing so hard. And just having that sense memory come up in treatment and engaging that. Our whole purpose to our treatment was just to engage joy and childlike wonder, and to be fully present to everything that's available to us. And boy, if you know, obviously I walked away from that treatment having grown younger. So those are a few things that I do. And let's pass it on to Reverend Dale.
Thank you, Reverend Lori, and good morning, everybody. When I was a young girl, I had the awareness that growing old is a choice. And I saw so much of that race consciousness where we're taught, if you're getting older, when you get older, this is the reality, you better accept it. And I knew as a young person, I was not going to accept that. And I was going to retain my youngness forever. I just made that decision, and I continue to live in that space. And for me, as a person who follows science of mind, it is so congruent with that thought that I made as a young child, because when I'm walking through life and just having my experiences, I always go back to that freshness that is alive, that is vibrant, that is ageless, that I call as like my center place where God is, where I am connecting with that truth. And so for me, the way that I grow young in any time that's unfolding is that I always remain in that place of knowing that there is no reality to time or to space, and there is always the eternal now, and there is always that state of youthfulness youthfulness that is present within all of us. And so I tune into that youthful energy, that innocence, that vibrancy, and that aliveness. And I never forget it, because it can be very easy to forget, especially with all the stress in our world right now and the weariness that can age us. And I turn away from that and I turn to the truth, which is knowing who I am and living from a state of eternal youth and youngness and love and joy. And so that's the way I continue growing young. And now I'm going to pass it over to Reverend William.
Pulling a Cheryl. Wow. I'm just loving that. All right. So anyway, how do I grow young? All my life, I've always thought that an age, or knowing your age, put a stamp on how you should act. And I've always kind of lived my life, especially past the teens. I really forget how old I am. And when somebody goes, "Hey, how old are you?" I literally have to count on my hands how old I am. Wow, I can't even put that out. How old am I? Again, because you have this preconceived idea of what an age should act like. Like when I was young, I'm telling you what, somebody who is 40 or 50 is like, oh man, you might as well be 1 foot in the grave type of thing. And here I am past 50 and I'm like 18. And what I've come to realize is, and what I love about this philosophy and this teaching about mind over matter, is it's true. As soon as you start thinking that you can't do something because you're X age, your body is going to reflect those thoughts. So as long as you keep your thoughts youthful, because the mind does not age. The mind is always youthful. And so I love to explore. I love to find out new things. And so it's that curiosity, like a child, that allows me to live that life in awe. No matter what's going on, I'm always excited to find out what's around the corner. And from living life at that standpoint, it allows you to grow young. Wisdom and intelligence has nothing to do with age. It has to do with experience, and allow those experience to guide you in doing positive things and avoiding negative things. And that's all well and good. But keep that youthful vigor for life and exploration, and finding out something you don't know. Say, yes, I can do that, and figure out how to do it, learn how to do it. And that is what I do to keep young, is always going yes. Except when my wife asks me to do something, then. Anyway, okay, so now we have Reverend Gail coming up. And while Reverend Gail is explaining to her youthfulness, those of you who are watching, please think about what it is you do, and please give us comments and feedback. We would greatly appreciate it. So now I'm going to hand it over to Reverend Gail. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Reverend William. And boy, I'm loving all of these amazing answers. And good morning, everyone, as well. And thank you all for joining us today. So the question, how am I growing young? Well, for me, it's definitely not about popping vitamins or blending kale. I think I'm growing young around more encouragement for hugging, either virtually or when it's safe physically. I'm growing young by deeply listening to others, through compassionate service, through building strong social networks. And I think also through expanding spiritual connection. Those are all the ways that I am growing young. And I'm wondering, after listening to all of these different perspectives of my cohorts, how you and our audience might answer this question today. So, how are you growing young? And as you ponder that and share any comments with us that you have, I'd like to introduce our topic for today, which is grim or mighty? How are you called to contribute to our world? So this topic today is really poignant because it comes from the raw experience of living today. You know, I had to face it when I thought about our topic today. We're all facing new challenges. COVID-19, We've got violence in many of our treasured cities. We've got the question of open or closed borders. What about schools opening or virtual? We've got a contentious presidential race, just to name a few. And some would call this a time of unprecedented changes with difficulties in many places. Well, for us, coming from spiritual awareness and expansion, which is the perspective we're coming from today in today's topic, we don't deny all that is going on. But it does call us up to seek a higher meaning and to embrace the dance that we do, centered as we are in both heaven and earth. And I suspect that I'm not alone in having a quest for the experience of a peaceful and creatively productive world. And because you've turned in today, I suspect you too have the same passionate prayer in your heart. So the truth is, I absolutely believe, and I trust, and I know a peaceful world is waiting for all of us. At the same time, I also believe humanity is being asked to do its part, both individually and collectively. I do believe we're all on the right path, despite the appearance of chaos around us. For me, these are all distractions that I'm experiencing in our world, and it's a reminder to me of the work that I have to do, and collectively, the better world that's always open to all of us. So, what I believe we're witnessing today is extreme polarity, and also, I'm very grateful it's an opportunity to turn a corner. So, the unrest that we're experiencing in this country and throughout the world is hard to watch. And yet, it's a joy to witness at the same time. Now, that may sound a little bit strange, but realistically, there's some sorting necessary to clear out what we might consider dark. Yet, the beauty in this experience, for me anyway, lies in the sacredness of all that's being expressed. So, when I slow down and sit with all that's going on, what comes forth for me is a revelation of sorts that both individually and collectively, we're being empowered to choose differently and to create a new world. This is coming from a place of action. And what pulls me forward is knowing that we're not alone in this venture, because we are supported by a universe that unfolds perfectly according to a greater wisdom that serves all of us. So that's really my perspective of what's going on. And so, with that, I'm really curious, what is your personal journey as you contribute to this world? And I asked this question of both our listeners and my cohorts today, and they're all going to weigh in. And my personal journey is to live a soul conscious life, and a life where my soul is in the lead. And what that means to me is to express divinity always and not to harm anyone, not by my words or by anything that I do. And yes, that's a pretty tall order, but it's simply asking myself to be all that I was created to be. So, yes, we're all facing new challenges, it's true, but I believe that healing starts at home. For me, it means thinking and speaking of gratitude and joy and being gentle with my words and my actions. Yes, there's a lot in this world to complain about, but I can always find something to be thankful for and something that's joy filled. There's a lot I could be angry about too, but I sense that there's more than enough anger to go around right now. And I'm not saying that anger is a bad thing, it's not. But to be productive, anger must lead to an open heart and an open mind. For I found that it is from these places that solutions reveal themselves, not from anger. Yes, we all need to be heard, for it is from true understanding that solutions and resolutions are possible. So for me, this is my goal. This is my path. And it's a step-by-step process of first embodying and then living this truth. And I emphasize these two steps, embodying and then living, because in order to live my truth, I first have to believe it, I have to think it, and I have to feel it. And then I have to go out into the world and have to actually live it. So you've listened to my personal journey and how I'm called to contribute to this world. And now I'm going to turn it over to my cohorts to weigh in on how they are contributing to this world. So, what say you, my friends? How are you called to contribute to this world?
Well, I'll jump in. So I was thinking everything that shows up, it's what you call it, it's what you name it that matters, right? So stumbling block or stepping stone. It's the same stone, but you've either, one you've tripped over, the other you've jumped up on to look around to say, what's here for me? It's a stepping stone to be called up to that next level of consciousness, to go a little bit deeper into my own practice, to notice when things are upsetting me, to say, okay, here it is. Now, what do I choose to do with it? My husband said something brilliant this morning, and I immediately said, "Oh, I'm going to steal that." He said, "Forget, it's what? Oh God, now I want to yell out to him and ask him, make sure I get it right. Uh, the wind, just adjusting your sail to the wind rather than expecting the wind to change." So all this stuff that is happening is this wind is blowing, this sea of change is happening. And so are you going to be swept away by it, or are you going to set your sails and control where you take it and where you go with it? And how exciting is that? Because for those of us in this teaching, and I'm going to guess for most people watching, what an opportunity to apply the principles we have been learning and studying all these years, because without application doesn't mean much, does it? So everything that's coming up right now in our world, whether it's the unrest or the COVID or whatever it is, it's an opportunity for us to practice these principles, to refine how we show up in the world, and to look for how can I contribute? Because right now, what we have to offer, this viewpoint on the world, that there is only one energy, there's only one thing ever happening, and that thing is good, and it's biased. It's not even biased. It is totally about growth. It can only go in one direction. And so, what a wonderful message to give the world. Just breathe, hang on, see what you can do in your personal life to get yourself centered and grounded. And then, how do you support others to do the same? And I would say by doing it for yourself, you are automatically supporting others to do the same. Energy is contagious, and a higher level of energy, people want to participate in that, right? They'll say, "Why are you like so calm? Why isn't this upsetting you?" Because I have spiritual practice, because I see the truth of what's unfolding in the world. Well, they're going to want some of that, because who wants to be upset? Who wants to bang your head against the wall? No one. Everybody wants to be having the best experience of life. Everybody wants to know that they make a difference. And I think sometimes we're just not clear on how to do that. But we see it when we're calm. We see it when we're centered. So that's always going to be our first job, is to breathe, to get centered, to engage in the truth with a capital T. And then from that place, you automatically know what is yours to do and what you're here to contribute. So that's all I got for now. I'll be back.
Lori, that was great. I love that. But I hear a lot of people that say, I just can't wait until we go back to normal, or go back into being what it was before. But I just want to say that if you're going to be mighty, then what are you going to do to make it different or better once we're back into whatever we call the mainstream, or what we usually think our life is supposed to be? Has this given you an opportunity to think about more creativity in your life, more health in your life, better relationships in your life, or just all of those things that make a difference in how life is expressed from you? So if we're going to go back, I don't want to go back. I want to go forward. I want to look forward to what we're going to what's going to be the changes. I mean, maybe it's changes in the way that we perceive other people. Maybe it's going to be that time when you take your mask off and you get to actually smile at someone. Isn't that cool? And you got to learn how to smile with your eyes right now, or else they think you're just, not really excited about anything. But how are you going to show up in life? How are you going to make a difference once this is over? How are you going to be mighty? I love that word, mighty. Yeah, let's just grab hold of that. And what is the difference that you need to do to make this world a better place? That's what it boils down to. What is in you? What are you expressing? What are you giving back? How are you being of service? And so instead of going back to the way it was, I want to see it go back to better. Or not back to better, but to a new better, a new forward-looking thinking, a new forward-looking way of living your life to be mighty. And most of us don't realize, for a long time, I didn't realize how powerful we really are. We are spiritual beings expressing God in every moment. So how are you going to show up? I'm just asking you, are you going to be grim and upset about what's gone on, or are you going to be mighty? Thank you for putting that word in there, Gail. I love it. Mighty. Let's be mighty. I like it. Anyway, that's my take for now.
I think for me, I can see my theme. My mini theme today is all about choice, and I loved how Gail phrased it as mighty or grim. And there's a choice. Are we gonna go mighty, or are we gonna go grim? And for me personally, when this whole thing became our reality of the moment in March, I realized that I got swept up in what I was seeing. I was getting swept up in the fear and this could happen and that can happen. And I became very present to a choice I could make. And it was, I could either plug into the consciousness of fear that was rolling around, or I could do what I do best, which is to move my awareness to principle and stand there. And I did choose that after kind of just going through what I needed to go through within my own consciousness, to make that decision to believe in the principles of what everybody else has stated, that everything truly is unfolding in its right and perfect way. And, we talk a lot on our show and at our center about energy, our thinking, our emotional states, our vibrational frequency that we're putting out there is important, and it's energy, and it influences everything that's going on. And so for me, I see that myself individually and all of us choosing where are we going to land in our consciousness and our energy that we're putting out there? Are we going to stay in the grim, or are we going to choose to see what is actually a very powerful transformation that is taking place in our world, even though it looks uncertain, of course, and there are times where it might look a little scary. Underneath it all is the power of spirit as it is unfolding perfectly, so that a greater reality can form for all of us, which I know it is. So for me, it's all about choice. Do I want to put energy into worst possible case scenario, or do I want to put my energy into truth and the highest and best good that is unfolding? So it's really, it starts with us and our choice of what we're going to see and what we're going to affirm is actually coming into this world, which is the greatest possibility for all of us to live in a better life and a better world.
Well, that's wonderful. I guess I'll pick up the baton and run a lap or two. What I like is what we're talking about today is spiritual journey, grim or mighty. It's not a spiritual destination, spiritual journey. The only thing that is constant is change. Everything is temporary. And to latch on to a particular moment in time and build your life around that, that's when stagnation happens. That's when strife happens. That's when disease, dis-ease happens. And this opening topic that we had for our conversation today, how are we growing young, fits in perfect with this, because we are growing. We're not stagnant. We are always expanding. So allow that spiritual journey to happen. And yes, you are on a path, whatever that path may be for you. But don't worry if you get sidetracked or knocked off that path, because because you're always moving forward, every step you are creating a new path. Be grateful for the path that you were on and where you came from, but don't allow it to be the destination right here and right now. Allow yourself to expand, to step on that stepping stone, like Reverend Laurie was talking about, and survey your area and go, I want to experience that, or I want to go here. Allow yourself to always have that adventure, that explorer mentality inside you, spiritually as well as physically, and you will find that you gain experience while always remaining young and growing from that standpoint. That is how we allow ourselves to better ourselves. And of course, because we are all one, when I better myself, I better those around me. And so I will allow it to open up to the forum. Don't have any great questions as of yet, but I'll let somebody else take the baton now.
Cool. I'll share a bit. But as William was looking for questions, just remind us all, if you'd like to just share your comments about growing young or how you personally experience or move through the grim and mightiness of life, you're welcome to share with us. Or if you have a specific question of the topic or a specific question to one of us, you're welcome to chime in. And don't forget, if you like to put your name, the system kind of defaults your name to Lotus Flower 1234. So if that's not your name, just go and put your name at the end and we can make sure we can note that from you. Grim or mighty, and what am I called to contribute to the world at this time? I'm thinking of the two words, macrocosm and microcosm. And I'm actually just gonna share, my former wife is Dr. Reverend Michelle Madrano. She's an amazing teacher and leader and speaker. And many years ago, she blew my socks off with a sermon. And there was some kind of tragedy on the planet. It wasn't just in our country. It was a shooting or a bombing or something. But she did an excellent job, and I'm going to try and do it in just a few seconds here, of conveying that when we see something in the world, remember, our thoughts create our life and our world around us. And when we see something in the world, something within us contributed to that. We can't just point the finger and say it was someone else's fault, whether we want to label what we see as good or bad. What's really powerful is, since it's just me when I'm seeing something, how can I come from a place of, am I upset about what I see? Or can I know love right in front of me and what's showing up? So whether you're seeing diversity or division in anything in that place, if there's one life, that life is God, right? And God is everywhere and expressed fully through us. I'm not just a part of God. I'm one with the oneness of God. So if I think something that's the opposite of division, which is coming together, and I know peace and feel peace and see peace and connection and joy and camaraderie and partnership, the law has to take that and make it show up somewhere for me. And that's how I contribute. So I'm very selective of what news I look at. And I use online newspapers or things along those lines. So it's also very easy to see inspiring stuff of individuals or groups around the world, right? It's like, oh, wow, look at those people. I don't even know what country, how do you spell that country? And they're doing this great work. But if I ever come across something where at the beginning, I may feel that grim energy, even with but a breath. Remember at the beginning of this time when I said, let's take a breath? I know everybody, at least a little bit, felt a little bit better by going, and in that moment, my microcosm contributes to the macrocosm. Wow. Someone write that down. I saw it really powerfully show up just yesterday. So I am grateful to have the experience of physically living large in life, not just because I may have weighed another 40 or 50 pounds, but I mean being large in life of loving and leading groups. I volunteered with the Red Cross years ago after Loma Prieta earthquake in Northern California, and got a lot of people to collect goods, and we packaged all that up. Classes where dozens of people are in a class and speaking to people. I got to do that. I'm thankful for that opportunity. And yesterday, my dad was worried about a family member coming to the house, and they were flying, and he was worried about them getting in a car because from his limited input from just the local newspaper and no news on TV, he was concerned they might get infected being in the car. So in the microcosm, I could listen to him, hear his concerns, and make sure he knew I heard his concerns. And then it felt appropriate, key moment to any counselors, it felt appropriate to educate him some on how a virus works, and that the car is going to be sanitized, and the person traveling is wearing the best mask they can on the airplane constantly, those kind of things, right? And you can't just touch a mailbox that the mailman touched 2 hours ago and then get the disease. So I could feel him feel better, and his body was more relaxed in that moment. So now I just contributed, my microcosm contributed to the microcosm. I'm going too long. I'm going to cut short, but this is a wonderful talk of it. And this time in our lives, Reverend Gail, it's great to really think about whether it's in our home or in the world or in the voting coming up in less than 90 days, I can contribute to more love and more peace and more joy and more connection and more of the amazing abundance and infiniteness of God wherever I look. So, thanks.
Thank you, Reverend Brad. That was wonderful. And I think we've all had a chance now to share our journeys and contributing to the world as we experience it. And I loved how William emphasized that life is a journey, it's not a destination. But what I know for sure is that in my journey, that there are going to be some crossroads, there's going to be some forks in the road. There's even going to be some potholes that I'm going to run into. And so when we were contemplating this subject matter, one of the things that I thought about is, Gail, what are you fighting on your journey? What are you fighting on this path? So I wanted to share that and invite my cohorts to do the same. So for me, in my own rather sloppy and messy way, I'm fighting judgment. And in its place, what I'm offering is discernment. So sometimes I find it's hard for me not to judge when I see and I feel harm in particular. And so I have to work then towards being more open-hearted and more open-minded. I'm also fighting towards always being loving toward myself and always towards others, no matter what. And what I do know is that no one needs to earn love. We're all divine energy. We're all divine energy actualized. And we're therefore born to love ourselves and to love others unconditionally. That's who we are. So I'll turn it over to my friends now. Is there anything that you guys are fighting in your evolution and in your contribution to the world today?
I can go. The one thing that I have thought about since this all began was the fear that has been associated with all of this. No matter what the numbers are saying, and everybody has a different number, everybody has a different idea of how it's going. But the thing that was really struck me from the beginning was the amount of fear that was being generated around everything. So my journey and my goal throughout this is just to remain fearless. And that sounds like it's difficult to do, but I just refuse to go to that place of fear. I know that God is present. I'm immersed in the love and the beauty and the joy of God in every second of my life, which makes me sound like I'm preaching or something, but I really do feel that way. And that you just you got to stay out of the fear. When you go to fear, that's our greatest enemy. It's not this virus. It's not anything else in the world except fear. Fear is what drives people to do things that they normally wouldn't even think about doing. Fear can either put you in motion or it can paralyze you. What is it? Fight or flight. But I know that when you're living in fear, you're living in stress, and whenever you're in fear and you've got that fight or flight thing, your immune system immediately shuts down. Your digestive system shuts down because it wants everything to shut down. So you've got perfect energy to run like the devil if you need to. Oh, that was a bad play as far as I can see. So my biggest challenge, and what I always try and stay out of, is staying out of fear, just staying in love. And it can be done. It can be done. Thank you guys for letting me share.
All right, well, it's wonderful. So we have a couple of comments here that I'd like to share with everyone. One is from Calm Being, and they say, on my path for some time now, life has become simpler. I think that can all be with knowledge that can kind of happen. And then also, Grateful Soul says, I'm growing young by learning. Cohorts, what do you think about those two comments?
I think that's great. I love those comments. I think that learning is something that does keep us young. They've proven that the mind, I don't know if it makes it expansive when we're learning. It does something physiologically to our mind that makes us feel younger. So I think that's all really cool stuff. What was the first comment, William?
The first comment was, I cannot,
Oh, simpler, the simplicity.
yeah, on my path for some time now, life has become simpler.
Yeah, we've been forced into simplicity, I think, by virtue of what we're experiencing right now. And I think it's such a cool thing. And a lot of spiritual philosophies guide us and direct us to live a simpler life for greater spiritual expansion. And so I think it's kind of cool that this simplicity that's arising is guiding us to deepen our spirituality, because we have less complications in our world. We have less doingness that we need to do. And it puts us in that zone of being with ourselves, and to have that space to contemplate and to find out who we are spiritually and grow into that. That's one of the things for me that I've loved that. And it's brought me to being able to deepen something that is so precious to me, which is that spiritual understanding, and that it's like the experience of spirituality that we talk about a lot, that not just to teach it or the words or the book to read, but to really feel what it means to be one with everything, to really feel what it is to love yourself unconditionally, to really feel what it is to be God in form. You know, those are things that I think this silence allows us to deepen into.
I'll pop in after Gail's powerful expression and sharing about, within inside of us. I've had enough friends and clients that were caregivers. I was clear when I stepped into caregiving 3 years ago what to pay attention to. And I'm still continuously, and Reverend Gail's asking us, what do we need to check in about? I'm continually doing that. And even I have an opportunity with a family member coming into town to take a bit of time off and be away from the house. My mind went crazy to all these things. And I had to, just right now, for just a couple of days, what's the most powerful thing I could do and to help me be better in my expression, period? And what would that look like? And then from that inner place, then go create the inspired action to fulfill that. And that helps me a lot, even whether it's in the coming hour or the coming few days of pausing. My ministerial students heard me stay in a talk a couple of months ago, in life, there's always going to be something, there's always going to be different levels of joy and peace and abundance expressing. And there's always going to be in this physical humanness of life, something that's like a canker sore, something that's like a cancer, and something that's like a COVID. And if those things are always going to show up, then all we can do is this, so that whether more joy shows up, I can be more receptive, or see it where it looks like joy is having a struggle show up. So it's here. I don't hear a lot of people say it, but religious science, to be an awesome, amazing expression of the infinite as a religious scientist, you have to be completely selfish, just from the place of make it all about me. Because if I can do whatever it takes to feel peace, I'm gonna be less of a jerk to you.
Well, Reverend Brad, we have a comment here towards you from a previous comment that you made. It's from Friendly Newcomer, and it says, when I take a big conscious breath before I speak, my microcosm contributes to the general macrocosm. Is that what you mean, Reverend Brad?
Yes, because it doesn't matter even if it's after the breath, right? In the moment, even as I'm thinking to begin a breath, I'm now putting a new thought and feeling into the oneness of God. So even on the in-breath, before I'm even done, whatever's in my life and in me is now contributing to the one life, because the law is taking what is and making it into form. And so it's instantly contributing.
And then we also have a comment here from a Friendly Human for Cheryl. Totally agree, it says. I'm reminded that actually the opposite of love is not hate, but fear. Carol Caprioli May, she says, you all have exquisite comments. Kudos to you all.
Well, my beloved ministers, co-ministers, we're getting near to our end. So I'm going to ask you guys if you have any wrap-up comments that you want to make or give to our viewers today. Cheryl, go for it.
When that comment, it makes me think of when I first started in this teaching. We always have that judgment thing of love, the opposite is hate, beauty, the opposite is ugly, so whenever we define something, we also define the opposite of it. But what was really so fascinating to me, that the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. When you reach that point of not allowing that feeling of negativity to permeate your body, and you reach the point where there's love and there's indifference, because that's when you're out of the power of the hate, or you're out of the power of seeing things as ugly. When you stay in that positive state, or try to stay in that positive aspect of when you're looking at something and not judging it according to your belief about, this is ugly, so that must be pretty. It's that simple. This is good, so that has to be bad. It's not that simple. It's just all life just unfolding, and it's from our perception is how we present ourselves to the world then. So you have to watch your perception on how you're looking at things. So yes, and I do still feel, and I've always felt that way, that fear is our biggest enemy. So thank you for the comment, though. That was really nice.
So our listeners, you're seeing all of our faces here, and life didn't create 7.5 billion people on the planet for us to do anything that go to the pot by ourselves. So if there's one of these names here, or if there's someone at the church or a practitioner that you think can help you move through any experience, through COVID, through being alone, or even to get to the point where you can take what you've heard here today and implement it, or or even as simply as trying to more deeply reach out to one of us. It's completely okay. Here's what you do. You contact the office. I'm trying to get ahead of contact so-and-so. You contact so-and-so by whatever means you're given, saying, do you have 10 or 15 minutes to sit with me and talk and pray? Do you have 10 or 15 minutes to sit with me and talk or pray? So I encourage you to do that one time this week. In the next 7 days before our next session, next Wednesday morning at 10 a.m., just do it one time with one person you can do that with.
And I think my closing comment would be, I'm hearing a lot from everyone that we are all working towards becoming the very best versions of ourselves that we possibly can be. And for me, in doing that, it's really helpful for me to have a tool or tools. If I find that I've stepped off my path, if I'm going into fear, if I'm going into judgment, whatever it might be, I find for me that having tools to bring me back to my path is really helpful. So examples of tools, depending upon who you are and what works for you, meditation lifts your consciousness to oneness. Spiritual mind treatment, you speak your word of good into form. What about exercise? Exercise to express power and health. We also have to all attend to necessary tasks in our lives, right? To be in integrity with ourselves and with our commitments. So practicing, having these tools and practicing this wholeness every day helps us all stay on our path. And having tools for me anyway to fall back on when I wander off my path allows me to get back on very quickly.
Thank you, Reverend Gail. I'd like to have my final comment with this comment done by one of our listeners, Friendly Human. They say, when you also contemplate the idea that everything is perfect or that there are no accidents in the universe, one has to think this incredible phenomenon in which the entire world right now is huge opportunity to bring significant peace and love to our world. That's exactly right. And that's exactly what our topic today is about. Grim or mighty. What's happening now can be looked at as grim, and it's something you may not want to experience. But the mighty aspect of that is, what are you focused on? Focus on the love, the peace, the bringing together of one another, nations, countries, towns, heck, your next door neighbor. Let's start with our next door neighbor. Let's show peace and love there. Let's turn what might be considered as grim, but through your actions and my actions, utilizing spirit with peace and love and harmony, we turn this into something mighty. Allow this be the opportunity to expand your consciousness, to expand your love. And let's just show the universe what we're made of. I just love this opportunity to share and express, and I just love everyone. Please, thank you all so much for this day.
Reverend Lori, did you have a final comment you wanted to make?
What just came into my head while Reverend William was talking was a mighty movement of love. Isn't that an interesting conversation to be having right now? Because really our lives will be a reflection of what we find interesting. So if you find the grim interesting, then that will be reflected in your life. But if you find the mighty interesting and a mighty movement of love interesting, then that will be your experience. I also was thinking about Mr. Rogers. Remember his mom said to him when he was upset over something, look for the helpers. Look for the helpers. And all she was doing in that moment was guiding her little boy to be focused, to be interested in something other than the grim that was happening, which was the helpers. And if you look, you will always find them. Always. There's so many amazing things happening out there right now, but you have to be willing to look for it. So my suggestion is simply to focus on the belief that wonderful things are happening and stay focused on that. And just trust me, all of a sudden, where it appeared there wasn't wonderful things before, there'll be a flood of them coming at you. And that is a very practical practice, as Reverend Gale said. There are tools available to us, and that is one. Just shifting the focus of your attention to what you either find interesting already or what you want to find interesting. So you may be, focused over here, decide, no, that's not what I want to experience, and then simply shift. That's it. It's really is that simple. I think a lot of times we make it very complicated, but try simple and see how it works for you.
Thank you, Reverend Lori. And I'll just give a final comment before I close this out. Ernest Holmes said that there's absolutely nothing wrong in the world. Nothing is wrong with the world. It is all unfolding through divine right action and order. And we always talk about, we live in a world, in a universe that is governed by the law of cause and effect. So everything that's here today had a cause. But what's cool is we get to bring in a new cause. We bring in the love, like everybody has said. We bring in the love. We bring in the knowing that everything can change for the better. And I know we're seeing that unfold. And I love that you guys have been given so many tools, and we've just given all our love and all our knowledge to you. So now, as we say, put it to work in your life so that you can shift whatever you're going through. If it's not feeling good, you can shift it by utilizing what we've taught you today. And we're just so grateful. I just want to say we are so grateful that you are welcoming us into your homes and into your hearts to have these wonderful conversations, to see the world a little bit differently so that we can move forward with peace in our hearts. And just remember, life is fluid. Life is fluid, and we've got to be present to what we're experiencing, and to use our tools to shift ourselves so that we're in alignment with truth. So thank you again. And Gail, Reverend Gail, thank you. What a great topic you brought to the table today. I want to just invite everybody who's here joining us today the opportunity to financially give to our center today. Like we always tell you, even though our doors are closed, we are very open in many other ways, and we have many people that we need to support financially and bills to pay. So we greatly appreciate your financial contributions. If you can look on, I think on the page that you're on now, there's a place to go. You can go to our website, you can send a check, you can text. There's multiple ways. You can find them all on our website. And we're greatly appreciative of all that you can give to us, because it allows us to continue doing what we're doing, and we are preparing for when we all come together. And so you're also allowing us to create some great programs for you to participate in. So thank you very much. Also, I just want to let you know what's going on the rest of the week. If I can have my cohorts in spiritual crime do their jazz hands at 10 o'clock. Every day this week, we continue to have our 10 o'clock offerings. Tomorrow, Reverend Charles is going to be having a lovely conversation with Debbie Dixon. She does a lot. She is a yoga instructor. She has written a book called Path to Freedom. She does retreats. She's a teacher. So I know they're going to have a fabulous conversation. So that will be with Reverend Charles tomorrow. And then Friday, Reverend Charles will be back with Life on Love. And he'll probably be updating you on what's been going on in his life, because he's had quite an experience. And I know there's a lot of truth and wisdom he's going to provide to everybody. And you can ask your questions as well. On Saturday, we have a meditation also at 10 o'clock. It's a great way to just kind of not escape. I just want to say relax into the wholeness of life. And I think the ministers here are the ones that are doing the session. So just tune in at 10. And Sunday, we have a wonderful service. I've been told you do not want to miss it, because it's going to be phenomenal. So join us at 10 o'clock for that. Actually, I think for the Sunday service, you can watch it anytime after 6 o'clock. You'll get the link. Anyway, so that's what we've got going on this week. I also want to remind all of you, we've got a couple other things that are happening. We've got our Power of 8 groups, and please, there's plenty of room for all of you to join in. They're powerful. Life changes when you participate in intention setting and holding. So go to our website. We've got that scrolling banner at the top, and you can land on the Power of 8 page and go to the link, and it'll take you to a place where you can sign up. We currently have them on Wednesdays at 8, noon, and 6:30, and we would love for you to join us. We're seeing some great movement of life for people who are participating. Lots of good stuff. Also, we have our social 8s. That is Thursday. Cheryl's at 5:30 or 5? 5 o'clock. Okay, 5. And Reverend William and Reverend Cheryl the funnest people you could possibly hang out with. Not that we all aren't fun. The two of them together are trouble. So you should go have some fun with them. And you can also find the link on that same scrolling page, and you can drop into that experience, which I've been hearing great stuff about that as well. Also, as Reverend Brad had mentioned to all of you, we are all here for you. If you need a prayer, if you need to talk about anything you're walking through, we're all here for you. And we also have an opportunity for you to come to our virtual prayer room, which is on Sundays at 11 o'clock, and that would be Pacific Standard Time. And all you need to do is go to the link again on that same place on our website. Go to the link at any time between 11 and 11:30. We're there for half an hour. It's a confidential one-on-one experience with a practitioner, and we are there for you. So please take advantage of our love and what we have to give to you to make those shifts in consciousness that allow you to live in peace and love. So we are here for you all the time. So on that note, I think I've said enough, and it's time to pray. So if you would like to just close your eyes and join me in the awareness of the oneness of all life, as we just see with new eyes and just experience with a new consciousness, to be able to just understand our power that we are, for we are all expressions of the one. And so I am knowing for everybody today, whatever wisdom landed in our hearts was so absolutely perfect. That wisdom that allows us to remember who we are, to be able to see the good that is everywhere present, to remember that life, the universe is all for us. And so to just take the opportunities to love a little deeper, to see a little clearer, to engage in life in a new way where we can feel a deeper connection with everything, and just to be in the wholeness and the flow of life and recognize our spirituality that is deepening, that is expanding, and our connection with all life that is really one of love, compassion, and understanding for everybody. And so knowing today is a beautiful day because we've started here with the Sensational Six, I'm grateful that we are all blessed, that we are all here to just lift each other up and to live in the harmony of the universe. And so knowing that all is well and unfolding in its divine, right, and perfect way, I just let go and let it be as we say together, and so it is.